Certain dates have reverberated throughout history. Time and time and time again, we see certain events happening on certain days, major events. This is one of those upcoming dates, February 11th, 2020. Now, this time last year, I talked about January 20th, 2019. That was, of course, when DC tried to stand up a random guy named Juan as the make-believe president of Venezuela, and we all know how that story went. This is the anniversary of the Islamic Revolution in Iran. Very recently, our illustrious leader has poked the bear, so to speak. Now, this is where I'm sure a lot of people are getting ready to go hit their keyboards and start attacking me. This is one of the things that he gets right. I know a lot of people are probably having a heart attack right now. I would have done this a long time ago had I been in his position. Iran is nobody's friend but Iran's. And I know people like to conflate Iran with Venezuela because as far as their attitude toward our government and our government's attitude towards them, it's the same. But the two places could not be more different. Iran and Venezuela. We see our mainstream media trying to conflate them. They're not the same thing. Now, those of you wanting to know about what happened in late January, mid to late January, early February 1979, this is when the Shah was deposed and the Ayatollah took power and declared Iran the Islamic Republic, the Islamic State of Iran, came into being on February 11th, 1979. If there were going to be retaliation for Soleimani, this is when it's going to be. Sometime in that range. So keep your eyes open for this. Now, I know this is going to make a lot of people mad, but you're just going to have to own this, Trump supporter. This is the one thing that if Trump had lost and Hillary were in power, or McCain had somehow, through some machination, been in power, and he had done this, he had poked the bear like this and used a drone to kill Soleimani and all this other stuff and said, we have 52 sites targeted in Iran, you would have been beside yourself, losing your mind, saying, man, if we'd had Trump, we wouldn't be at war. That's exactly what you would be doing. This is where McCain and Trump have no light between them. I should say, I guess, had, since the man is gone. However, there are other historical events, like this one. The man most commonly referred to as the 666 Caesar came to power on February 11th. Or the event that led to him coming to power, the death of Tiberius Claudius Caesar Britannicus, that gave Nero the okay. This happened on February 11th. These are things that just can't be denied, and honestly, you can debate whether it was a good idea to kill the guy or not a good idea to kill the guy. Honestly, it's going to happen eventually, one way or the other. There's no avoiding this war with Iran. It's prophecy. Whether it happens now or whether it happens in 5 years or 10 years. But when things go down, when things get hot over there, make sure you have everything set as far as your preps goes. Because things are going to spiral out of control quickly. And once those oil tankers start coming under fire, it's not going to be necessarily about whether they make it here or not. It's going to be about the insurance rates. And when the cost of doing business goes up in this particular case, and make no mistake, we are not in any position now to try to do what we did back in the 70s and go all energy independent. We're not in that shape anymore. We might have been had we overthrown Venezuela, and we could count on that supply being ramped up and supplying that heavy crude. But they are going to make life over there a nightmare, no matter where the tanks are coming from. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying that we get oil from Iran. What I'm saying is that all the oil that passes through the region that Iran controls is going to become more expensive. And like I said, this is one of those things I think he got right with Iran. You can debate about the timing of it. I'm not really sure that matters all that much. But like I said, I would have done it a long time ago. I would have put them on notice about their activities around the world, about where their money's going. I would have gone way, way farther than just sanctions. Long ago. And even Reagan knew this. This is where it's kind of a weird thing to put it all together. I mean, you can have different leaders that oppose each other on different points, but agree on one. And this was one where I think you could have seen Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, this guy, John McCain, all be on the same sheet of music on. Which seems weird, I know, but, it doesn't mean that they're friends everywhere else, especially in domestic policy. But watch this date. Watch the 11th of February. Because from January 7 to February 11, and January 7 is only a couple days from now, that's when the Iranian Revolution took place in 1979. And it changed the face of Persia. It became an entirely different place when the Ayatollah took over. And that's, of course, the guy pictured here. Not a good guy. The Ayatollah Khomeini. And it got real close back then to a shooting war with Iran. This is something that's being missed by a lot of the younger people that are going out and protesting all of this warmongering and all this kind of stuff. We didn't start this with Iran. Many people don't remember the Iran hostage crisis. Many people don't remember the Navy SEAL that got, or Navy sailor that got, I think he was Special Forces, the guy that got assassinated on a plane. There was a plane that was hijacked, and they dumped his body on the tarmac. He might have been a Seabee. I'm not exactly sure, but it was bad. It was really bad at this time. And at that time, cooler heads prevailed, but it's looking like history's repeating itself. So just make sure that you have extra gasoline that you could afford to have to shelter in place for a while. Because the Iranians are much more powerful than people give them credit for. They've got snaky-like tentacles everywhere. Even to some extent, and I'll admit this, they did, to some extent, get people into Venezuela, but not nearly to the extent that it was reported. Venezuela, no matter what, will remain sovereign. And they've proven this. Even to their own detriment, they'll remain sovereign. And that's the big miscalculation I think that DC counted on. Or I guess I should say they didn't count on. It's just the reality. And you can look up the culture of Iran. You can, look up this issue with Soleimani. And there will be a retaliation. And I think it's more than likely going to be sooner rather than later. So it's, if anybody wants to look up, by the way, the Nero Caesar thing, it's just another event in history that you can mark on February 11th. In fact, there was a pope that had put out a papal bull denouncing the separation of church and state, February 11th. What else? There were so many other things that happened on that date. So keep your eyes open, and we will keep watching and keep you informed as events warrant. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.